You are listening to CMQ Investing. I'm your host, Chris Franco. Charlie Munger once said that if he and Warren Buffett's predictions have been a little bit better than other people's predictions, it's because they've tried to make fewer of them. Through this podcast, I try not to make a lot of predictions, but I only stick my neck out with a prediction when I feel like something is close to a sure thing. At the start of 2022, on January 17th to be exact, I published an episode titled, Why Cathie Wood and ARK Will Ultimately Crash and Burn. Just 5 minutes ago, my buddy Charles pinged me, and he said, "You'll never believe this. Cathie Wood just wrote a letter to the Fed telling them they need to stop raising rates." Now, if you have money in ARK, I'm not celebrating that. I hope that no one who listens to this right now is being affected by ARK's terrible performance. So if you hear me laughing, it's not at anyone who's invested. It's at the ridiculousness of Cathie Wood. Now, I could go on a rampage of a rant, just clowning this lady. And it's not something that I take lightly. I don't, have a mean spirit in me where I just want to, bring people down. It just makes me sick to see people who are extremely persuasive lure in people's hard-earned money and then practically just light it on fire. I mean, Cathie Wood has gone from what the media has described as a stock-picking wizard to what I would describe as a magician. You give her your money and she makes it disappear.
We believe.
In her letter, she says that we delineate first the upstream price deflation that is likely to turn into downstream deflation. You know what? I'm not even going to read this because anything that this woman tries to predict or project or forecast, it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. It's coming out of her you-know-what.
We believe.
That's the reality. I could pull up her YouTube interviews from the last 2 years, and you'll hear a whole bunch of claims that are baseless. I don't know why Cathie Wood is so worried, actually. She should probably just sleep well tonight because, after all, as she has also predicted, the price of Bitcoin is going to $1 million per coin by 2030. So if I'm Cathie Wood and I have a 5-year time horizon, as she always says, well, maybe add 3 more years to it and just buy Bitcoin, right? You'll be a hero. It's okay.
Absolutely.
I don't want to say that she as a human being is bad, right? Something about that just doesn't feel right to me. But it makes me a little bit uncomfortable. Now, matter of fact, it makes me sick that this person is given so much airtime to just go on uninterrupted rants and rambles about, well, no pun intended, God knows what. Why don't you get back to watching your clients' money?
Absolutely.
This was all very predictable. In the episode I mentioned about ARK crashing and burning, I go into all the details. But something pretty ridiculous that comes to mind right now is the fact that when she was profiled in the Financial Times, Cathie Wood's former boss called her a boom or bust investor and said that she has a real issue and has always had an issue with risk management. This quote comes from Lisa Shallett, who is the chief investment officer at Morgan Stanley Wealth Management and Wood's former boss at AllianceBernstein. By the way, Lisa, if you're listening, would love to have you as a guest. Come on and tell some stories. Come around the campfire. Okay, Lisa said the following. Cathie is a boom or bust investor because she doesn't disinvest or risk manage. This is the challenge that she has had for her entire career. Cathie Wood is in her 60s, by the way, and this article was published on March 3rd, 2022. Now imagine this for a second. This is why I found that to be so hilarious. Imagine that in your line of work, you have achieved something that no one in the history of that line of work has ever achieved. That was Cathie Wood in 2020. She brought in more inflows in a 1-year window than I think ever in that same time frame. The flagship fund, ARKK, had annualized returns of 150%. 150. Not bad. Now imagine that's you, right? You've done something in your line of work that no one has ever done. They are calling you the next, whoever is the greatest of all time at what you do, they're saying you're the next one. So the Financial Times decides, it's time to do a profile piece on you, something real in-depth and classy. We should reach out to some people who know her. How about her former boss? And if you're the former boss, right, there's people out there in this world where I'm their former boss. And in a similar situation, even if I had, maybe something not perfectly nice to say, I'm not going to bring it up. This is not that kind of guy. I'm not going to be interviewed for someone's sort of like swan song or whatever they call like a celebratory piece and be like, by the way, she sucks at risk management. But Lisa, and I'm only not saying her last name because I'm probably saying it wrong, but Lisa, it must have been so important for her to say it that she couldn't hold it in. That's how bad Cathie Wood is. Let's face it, guys. She sucks. Okay? Cathie Wood sucks. Do you know how much money this person has brought in and just gone, whoopsie-doo? We believe. Just 5 years, guys. She's going out of business. Okay? But I think there have been Cathie Woods before, so in all likelihood, her future is probably not that bad. She's the new Mary Meeker. Looking at the ARC performance, let's see where it is right now. Yeah, it's at $36. At the worst part of the pandemic, if I'm reading this right, it was at around $38. So when you talk about a bubble and the air coming out of it, I mean, this is that. The air has come out of the bubble completely to the point where now the balloon is getting smaller than it was when we started. Nice job, Cathie. Great work. Cathie Wood might be the nicest person in the entire world, but when you send her a check, she has her own ideas, and I don't think she loses any sleep when she loses your money. Because if she did, she wouldn't look so refreshed every time she comes on TV, which is quite frequently. Or like earlier in the year when she went to the Bitcoin conference in Miami and sat on stage with Michael Saylor. And a few weeks after that when she went to the Bahamas for another Bitcoin conference. She is a promoter. She is what Jack Bogle fought against. Clowns that overcharge you and make you less wealthy than you would have been had you just bought the index. She'll go on TV and say anything just to get those inflows. She'll pretend that she's a thought leader, that she's the person that's going to speak up to the Fed and they'll listen because it's Cathie Wood. She's recently been collaborating with Titan for her new venture fund that I clowned on YouTube last night. And they called her the legendary Cathie Wood. And that's what's another thing that makes me sick is she is being marketed to people who are my age and younger who don't know all of this as if she is, I'll call her Lady Buffet. And nothing could be further from the truth. She is a paper shredder. She takes your money and shreds it after she takes her cut. So I hope for the people that have invested in Cathie Wood, that have been inspired by her passion, for her excitement about innovation, I hope they get all their money back. I hope Cathie Wood's funds rebound and come back stronger than ever. But in all likelihood, if we're thinking probabilistically, it's probably not going to happen. But maybe if Mr. Powell, maybe if he dials it back a little bit with these interest rate hikes, that's all we need.
We believe if our companies are not judged like normal businesses, we can regain our valuations.
And then that will bring in more people in because they want to chase the next 150% run that will likely never happen. This is in part Cathie Wood. This is in part our own psychology. This is in part a myth that was created by the media that for some reason the good people in the media can't seem to just admit it was all a bunch of bullshit. But we will. I will. I'll say it. I don't have any skin in this game other than not liking the fact that good, hardworking people are getting their clocks cleaned by this delusional, crazy person. And if you disagree with that, feel free to come on the podcast and I will smoke you. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, can you imagine? Come on the podcast. I'll just rip you apart, buddy. No, but if anyone disagrees with that, I'd love to have the conversation. I'm not trying to be overly one-sided, but I have an opinion and I'm going to share it. You don't have to agree with me, but I appreciate you for listening. For CMEQ Investing, my name is Chris Franco. We'll talk soon. Later.